Hi RCN families, it's Miss Sarah here, and I thought I'd make one last video to go over the extra materials that you may have in your learning bags and wonder what they're for. So as you notice, the theme of this learning bag was about art materials and art supplies like paper and the watercolors, the scissors, and then there was a few extra things that were in the bag. So your child is going to have more water beads. And water beads are so fun. It's a great sensory experience for your child. And the way I do my water beads at home is I get a Tupperware container and I fill it with water and I dump some of my water beads in it and I let them sit overnight and see how big they get. And, if there's any extra water, dump it out. And the reason I put it in the Tupperware containers or a bigger, you could even do it like in tote. But if you have a lid that goes with your container, then you can store the beads in it and they stay longer and they stay fresh longer. So you can always transfer your water beads in the cup or the container that you make them in, but just having a place to store them in is really helpful. And you may even go to the dollar store and get a bin to put your water beads in so that children can hide their toys in it. Or they can sort, or they can put cups and scoop, and they're pouring water with the water beads, and they're getting that full sensory experience. Another extra material that was given in the bags was a glue stick. So if your child's really into making things at home right now, this is great to have on hand. So if they're using the construction paper to cut different shapes out or lines, and they want to then put the paper onto a new piece of paper or a toilet paper roll, use your glue stick. But my advice would be make sure your child is closing the cap. And the way you would kind of remind them, don't leave the cap off, don't twist up too high. But the main thing that I always worry about is if children fully put the cap on and they have to make sure they press it down nice and tight. And I would remind that to your children just so, take care of your things and have it last longer by showing them how to take on and off the lid and put it on nice and tight. Another material that was extra in the bag was a straw, and that probably goes with one of the lessons as an extension. But the first thing that comes to mind for me is when you're using watercolor paints, you'll notice there's extra water on the paper. You might be able to have your child, blow the lines, blow the different blobs of paint of the watercolor on their paper with the straw, and then it kind of creates an extra detail and effect to their paper. Another thing would be to use this for, bubble making at your house. So if you use dish soap and some water and you want to have the kids blow bubbles in their, little bowl, use the straw. Or if you want to make it an art project and add food coloring or some kind of paint that's non-toxic to children and you want them to blow the bubbles and then put the paper on top, use the straw. That's kind of my extra tips that I may use the straw for a learning bag, but I'm assuming it's somewhere else in the the write-ups. So pay attention to where they say the straw comes in. Another extra material is the magnifying glass. This is super fun to take on your nature walks or your evening walks with your children. And, you might see them, going real close to the grass looking for bugs or, looking at a rock and looking at all the lines and the little cracks in the rock or looking at shells or looking at their toys in the house. And this is a great science tool for them to explore and investigate things a little closer and kind of feel like they're, exploring their world and making more sense of it. Another material that's kind of extra that you can use even after the bag is all the materials are gone is the scissors. So for art projects and scissor skills, you have this on hand. Just be mindful of when your child is using the scissors and they're in the bags, because I don't want anybody to hurt their hands or have their child using it without them knowing that it was in the bags and cutting things that they shouldn't be. Another material that you can keep using as time goes on is the paints. I hope they last quite a while for all our families and you get lots of uses out of it. One tip that I would say to do is make sure you leave it open so they dry after one use of it. Or also, instead of having a paint cup, have a little spray bottle, a mini spray bottle that you get from the dollar store. Fill it up with water. That way you can control the amount of water that goes right on top of the paint. So it's not lots of blobs of water sitting there, or like even dumping out the water out of your palette at the end, just so you get that excess water off and it's not wearing out the paints faster than it should. And that's all I have. But I hope you enjoy all the materials and the learning activities. And your child's teacher would love to see pictures of you working on the bags with your children. You know, it really gets us excited, and you know, it feels like we're still a part of your children's life, knowing that you're doing extra things at home and enjoying the things that we provide. So send pictures to your children's teachers, and they will love it. Okay, RCN family and friends, have fun, and thank you so much. Bye.